Everyone talks about how hard it is to let go, but that's not the hardest part. The hardest part is the moment before. The moment when you finally see the truth you've been running from. The moment you realize that what you've been fighting for was already gone. You can survive the letting go. People do it every day. They cry, they grieve, they slowly piece themselves back together. Time helps, distance helps, new experiences help. The wound closes, even if the scar remains. But that moment of realization, that's where souls break. That's where everything you believed comes crashing down. That's where you stand in the rubble of your own hope and finally admit what you've been denying for so long. It's over. Maybe it was never really there at all. 8 centuries ago, a mystic named Ibn Arabi understood this pain, not from observation, from experience. He wrote about the layers of truth that humans hide from themselves, the veils we create to protect our hearts from what we're not ready to see. And he knew that the most painful veil to lift is the one that covers a dead hope. You've been holding on to something. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's a person who left but never really said goodbye. Maybe it's a relationship that ended in everything but name. Maybe it's a dream that stopped being possible years ago. But you keep feeding it anyway, because the alternative feels like death. Whatever it is, you know, somewhere beneath all the noise in your head, beneath all the justifications and maybes and what-ifs, you know. But knowing isn't the same as accepting. Ibn Arabi wrote, "The ignorant one does not see his own blindness, but the one who sees and still looks away carries the heavier burden." That's where you are, isn't it? You see, you've seen for a while now, but you keep looking away, keep finding reasons to hold on, keep telling yourself that maybe tomorrow will be different, maybe they'll change, maybe you'll change, maybe some miracle will come and prove that all this pain was worth it. But tomorrow comes and nothing changes, and you add another day to the count, another week, another month, another year of your life spent waiting for something that isn't coming. Why do we do this to ourselves? Why do we cling to things that hurt us? Why do we choose familiar pain over unfamiliar freedom? Because hope is a drug, and we're all addicted. Hope tells you beautiful lies. It whispers that things will get better, that this person will finally see your worth, that this situation will turn around, that your patience will be rewarded, that your loyalty will be recognized, that love will win in the end, and you believe it, because the alternative is unbearable. The alternative means accepting that you wasted time, that you gave yourself to something that couldn't receive you, that the story you've been living isn't going where you thought it was going. The alternative means grief, real, heavy, suffocating grief, not just for what you lost, but for what you never actually had, for the version of reality you constructed in your mind, for the future you imagined that will never exist. Ibn Arabi understood that humans fear this grief more than almost anything. We will endure years of quiet suffering to avoid one season of honest mourning. We will stay in situations that drain us, rather than face the emptiness of starting over. We will convince ourselves of almost anything to postpone the moment of truth. But here's what he also understood. The postponement has a price, and the longer you wait, the higher the price becomes. Every day you spend holding on to something you should release, you pay with your energy, your peace, your capacity for joy, your ability to receive what's actually meant for you. You pay with the slow erosion of your soul, the gradual dimming of your spirit, the quiet death of possibilities that can't be born. While your hands are full of the past, you think you're being strong by holding on. You think loyalty means staying even when staying destroys you. You think love means fighting even when the other person stopped fighting long ago. But that's not strength. That's fear wearing a mask. Real strength is looking at something you love and admitting it's not good for you. Real strength is releasing your grip on a hope that's been keeping you stuck. Real strength is choosing the pain of letting go over the slow poison of holding on. Ibn Arabi wrote, "To die before you die is to kill what must die, so that what cannot die may live." There's something in you that needs to die, not you, not your capacity for love, not your ability to trust again, but something, a belief, an attachment, a story you've been telling yourself that isn't true anymore. If it ever was, maybe it's the belief that this person will change, that if you just love them enough, wait long enough, sacrifice enough, they'll finally become who you need them to be. But people don't change because we want them to. People change when they want to, and no amount of your love can create that want inside someone else. Maybe it's the belief that you need this particular thing to be happy. This job, this relationship, this city, this outcome. You've tied your happiness to something specific, and now you can't imagine joy without it. But happiness isn't a destination, it's a capacity, and that capacity is being strangled by your attachment to a single form. Maybe it's the belief that letting go means you failed, that it means you weren't good enough, that it means you gave up on love or dreams or yourself. But letting go isn't failure. Letting go is the ultimate success. It's the success of self-preservation, the success of wisdom, the success of choosing life over the slow death of clinging. The moment of realization is brutal. I won't lie to you about that. When the veil finally lifts, when you see clearly what you've been hiding from yourself, it feels like the ground disappears beneath your feet. Everything you built your hope on turns to sand, and you're left standing there, naked and terrified, with nothing to hold on to. But here's what Ibn Arabi discovered in that terrifying emptiness. Here's the secret that changes everything. The emptiness is not a void, it's a womb. When you finally let something die, you create space for something to be born. When you release your grip on what's gone, your hands become free to receive what's coming. When you stop pouring your energy into a dead end, that energy becomes available for new paths. But you can't access any of that while you're still holding on. You can't receive with clenched fists. You can't move forward while anchored to the past. You can't say yes to your future while you're still saying no to your present reality. The realization that you should let go is not the enemy. It's the invitation to stop suffering, the invitation to stop betraying yourself, the invitation to finally align your life with truth instead of fantasy. So why does it feel like dying? Because it is a death, not of you, but of a version of you, the version that believed in this particular hope, the version that built their identity around this particular attachment, the version that can't imagine existing without this thing they've been clinging to. That version of you has to die, and watching yourself die, even a false self, is terrifying. Ibn Arabi called this process fana, annihilation, the dissolving of everything that isn't real so that what's truly real can emerge. It sounds mystical, it sounds abstract, but you've felt it. Everyone who has ever had to let go of something they loved has felt this annihilation. It's the moment when you finally say the words out loud. It's over. The moment when you stop making excuses, stop waiting, stop hoping for a different outcome. The moment when you accept reality as it is, not as you wish it would be. And in that moment, something in you dies, but something else is born. Something clearer, something freer, something more aligned with truth. You're afraid of that moment. I understand. The realization feels like it will destroy you, but it won't. What will destroy you is the avoidance. What will destroy you is another year of this, another decade of holding on to something that exists only in your imagination. Think about how much energy you spend maintaining this hope. The mental loops, the constant analysis, the checking and the waiting and wondering, the emotional roller coaster of brief highs and crushing lows. Think about what you could do with all that energy if it were free. Think about who you could become, what you could build, how you could feel that life is waiting for you. But it can only begin when this one ends. Ibn Arabi wrote, "You think you are a small star, but within you are the secrets of the universe. You've made yourself small to fit into this hope. You've shrunk your desires, your dreams, your sense of self to accommodate something that couldn't accommodate you. You've told yourself you're okay with less because at least less is something, at least less keeps the hope alive. But you're not small. You've just been living in a small container, and now that container is cracking. That's not a tragedy. That's liberation. That's you outgrowing a space that was never meant to be permanent. The hardest part isn't letting go. You will let go eventually. Everyone does. Either you release it consciously, with intention and self-respect, or it gets torn from you by time and circumstance. Either way, the letting go will happen. The hardest part is right now. This moment, where you stand at the edge of truth and try to decide if you're ready to jump. You're ready. You've been ready for longer than you want to admit. The very fact that you're here, reading these words, listening to these ideas, tells me that you already know. Your soul has been screaming what your mind refuses to accept. It's time. Not because holding on is wrong, not because you failed, not because you didn't try hard enough, or love hard enough, or wait long enough, but because some things aren't meant to be held forever. Some things come into our lives to teach us something and then leave. And the lesson isn't complete until we let them go. What did this teach you? This thing you've been clinging to, this person, this dream, this hope. What did it teach you about yourself? About what you want, about what you're willing to accept, about where your boundaries should be. The teaching isn't wasted just because the form is leaving. You get to keep the wisdom even as you release the attachment. You get to carry the growth even as you grieve the loss. Ibn Arabi knew that every attachment is also a teacher, and the final lesson is always the same: let go. Not because what you loved wasn't valuable, but because you are more valuable. Your peace is more valuable. Your future is more valuable. Your ability to fully live is more valuable than any attachment that keeps you half alive. The moment of realization is a doorway. On one side is everything you've known, the familiar pain, the comfortable suffering, the hope that hurts. On the other side is everything you could become, the unfamiliar freedom, the uncomfortable peace, the unknown that terrifies and promises in equal measure. You've been standing in that doorway for too long, looking back, afraid to step forward, hoping somehow the past will reach out and pull you back in, will change, will become what it never was. But the past can't save you, only the future can, and the future requires you to walk through that door and not look back. I know it feels impossible. I know it feels like you're being asked to cut off a part of yourself. I know the grief feels like it will swallow you whole, but you will survive it. People have survived worse. You have survived worse. And on the other side of this grief is a version of you that you've never met, a version that isn't defined by this attachment, a version that is free in ways you can't currently imagine. Ibn Arabi wrote, "The heart is the throne of the Most High. Do not let anything sit there that is not worthy." What's sitting on the throne of your heart right now? Is it worthy? Does it honor you? Does it return even a fraction of what you give? Or have you allowed something unworthy to occupy your most sacred space simply because it showed up first? Simply because you got used to it? Simply because removing it feels like removing a part of yourself? You are not your attachments. You are not your hopes. You are not the stories you've told yourself about who you need and what you need to be complete. You are the one who watches, the one who remains when everything else is gone, the one who will still be here, still be you, after you let this go. The hardest part is realizing you should let go, and you just did. Now comes the next hardest part, the doing, the actual releasing, the walking through the door without looking back. You don't have to do it all at once. You don't have to be perfect at it. You just have to start, one day at a time, one moment at a time, one small act of release at a time. And every time you choose to let go instead of hold on, you get a little freer, a little lighter, a little more yourself. Ibn Arabi spent his whole life teaching that truth is painful before it's liberating, that wisdom requires sacrifice, that the path to peace runs directly through the heart of grief. You're on that path now. The realization has happened. You can't unsee what you've seen. You can't unknow what you now know. The only question left is, how long will you wait before you act on it? The door is open. Your future is waiting, and it's more beautiful than anything you're leaving behind. But let me tell you what happens after, because nobody talks about that part. They talk about the letting go. They talk about the grief, but they don't tell you about the morning after, the strange lightness, the terrifying freedom. At first, you'll feel empty, not the peaceful kind of empty, the scary kind, the kind where you wake up and reach for something that isn't there anymore, where your mind goes to its familiar obsession and finds only silence, where the space that used to be filled with hope is now just space. You'll wonder if you made a mistake. That's normal. When you've been holding something for so long, your arms don't know what to do when they're finally empty. They feel useless, purposeless. They want to reach back for what they released. Don't let them. Ibn Arabi wrote about this moment too. The moment after the release. He called it the desert, the space between what was and what will be, the blank page before the new story begins. The desert feels endless when you're in it. Every direction looks the same. There's no path, no signposts, no guarantee of water, just you and the vast emptiness of starting over. But here's what Ibn Arabi discovered in his own desert. The emptiness is not punishment, it's preparation. You can't write a new story on a page that's already full. You can't build a new life in a space that's cluttered with the debris of the old one. The emptiness is necessary. The desert is the way through. And if you keep walking, if you don't turn back, if you trust the process even when you can't see the destination, you'll find something you never expected. You'll find yourself, not the self that was defined by what you were holding, not the self that existed only in relation to that person, that dream, that hope, but the self that exists independently, the self that doesn't need anything external to be whole, the self that Ibn Arabi called the secret of secrets, the divine spark that was always there, buried beneath all your attachments. That self is waiting for you on the other side of this letting go. That self is who you were always meant to become. That self is worth every moment of grief, every tear, every sleepless night. You've been so focused on what you're losing that you can't see what you're about to gain. You've been mourning the death of a hope without realizing you're witnessing the birth of a possibility far greater than anything you were holding on to. Because here's the truth that Ibn Arabi understood 8 centuries ago, the truth that still echoes through time into this moment. What you were holding was never the destination, it was just a step on the path, a teacher that taught what it came to teach, a chapter that has now ended so the next one can begin. The next chapter doesn't have a title yet, you haven't written it, but you will, word by word, day by day, choice by choice, and it will be yours, truly yours, not shared with a ghost, not built on a foundation of hope that was never solid, but yours. Some people never get to write their own chapter. They spend their whole lives holding on to something that was never meant to be permanent. They die still waiting, still hoping, still looking backward instead of forward. You don't have to be one of them. The realization has happened. You know what you need to do. The only thing standing between you and your freedom is the willingness to walk through the pain instead of around it. Walk through it. It won't kill you. It will transform you. It will burn away everything that isn't real and leave only what is. It will hurt like nothing has ever hurt before, and then it will stop hurting. And when it stops, you'll realize you're not the same person who started this journey. You'll be someone new, someone stronger, someone freer, someone who knows their own worth, because they finally chose themselves over their attachments. Ibn Arabi spent his entire life teaching one essential truth. You are not what you cling to. You are the one who does the clinging, and the one who does the clinging can also be the one who lets go. You can be that one, right now, today, this moment. Let go, not because it's easy, but because you deserve to be free, not because you don't care, but because you care about yourself enough to stop suffering, not because the hope wasn't beautiful, but because you are more beautiful, and you've been hiding your beauty behind a hope that was blocking the sun. Step into the light. The hardest part is over. You realized what you needed to realize. Now, live it.